The following production is based off extensive research and comes from the deepest form of love. All of my statements are not meant to be taken as factual information. The only humans who will ever know this full story is Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera. I adore both of these girls, and I am simply telling a story as I lived it from a true fan's perspective, as well as from gathering research throughout the land. This is not meant to be gossip or slander and is strictly to be used for entertainment purposes only. Please do not get cute in the comments commenting about who is better. This is truly about being grateful for their collective existence and how the media created a vicious rivalry for entertainment. What is up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel and my podcast. If you are new here, please make sure you go ahead and slap that like button because we all know it helps support the channel. Also, make sure you guys subscribe and hit that notification bell. That way you are notified for each and every video. As you know, I don't have a post schedule. I only post when I feel cute and juicy. So if you want to be here when I post a video, you got to hit that notification bell. I'm here on a beautiful day with a brand new video for you guys where we are about to dive in to the iconic feud of Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera. And I'm so excited to be doing a full different type of video production on a topic that's so dear to my heart. Britney and Christina were definitely a part of my gay awakening. They gave me so much confidence and strength to be who I am and do everything that I'm doing today, with including music, drag, YouTube, so much more. They were so much a part of my everyday life, just getting ready for the day. And then as I got older, working out. And then as I was going through different types of emotions, they were there with slower songs as well. There's so much that these legends have helped me do and create as a person that I'll forever be so grateful for them. They truly help shape who I am, and it gives me so much pleasure to dive into what I feel like is one of the greatest stories of all time. Just their existence and the fact that they even had a possible feud is just so overwhelming and exciting for me, and just to tell the story as I remember it is really, really going to be a good time. I'll never forget the day that I realized that these two queens actually knew each other from their childhood. I first found Britney Spears when I was really young, and then later on I found Christina Aguilera, but the connection that the two knew each other while growing up was not something I realized until later in life. And there wasn't always all this internet access and ways to find out about people and history and stuff like that. So I kind of just went through knowing what I learned through the media, just like everyone else. So to be like a full-on adult and to be able to have sat here and put all the pieces together into this beautiful production has been so exciting, and I'm really excited for you guys to hear this story. You know the recent story of Britney Spears and her conservatorship, but what a lot of people don't remember is the iconic life the star led before the conservatorship and during it as well. One relationship that I always found interesting throughout those periods was with Christina Aguilera. People love to say that they hated each other, but documentation has definitely shown that at one point they had a very close and endearing relationship. This all began in 1993. Britney and Christina met on the set of the Mickey Mouse Club in 1993. This was a popular TV show in the 90s. This show was somewhat of the same format of later sketch comedy shows such as All That and The Amanda Show. It was here that catapulted the careers of so many stars such as Ryan Gosling, Justin Timberlake, and JC Chasez from NSYNC. I personally have always wondered, was this a place for talent and fun, or were there moments of backstabbing and fighting for the spotlight? I think about today's teens and their hunger for fame, and I wonder, was it as aggressive or were we living in different times? Was it possible for Britney and Christina to truly love each other without jealousy or malicious intentions? Britney and Christina seemed to have clicked right away on the set, being the two youngest cast members, and they had a bond like no other. Allegedly, things began to go south when the girls both had a crush on Justin Timberlake. Again, all this information in this video is indeed alleged. I truly believe the only people who will ever know the story in full truth is Britney and Christina. But knowing what I know about these girls as a super fan, as well as just a human, I could definitely see this being the reason of the beginning of possibly driving them apart. Not because of who they are or because of the songs that they've done, just because this is human intentions. It's natural for girls their age to have the same crush on the same boy, especially if they're spending a lot of time in the same area with him, and truly not a lot of options. Although they did have Ryan Gosling there, so who would have thought that he would have ended up being the star that he was? If they'd have known that, things might have been done a little bit quicker. Sadly, the show came to a close and the girls were truly devastated. There are all types of pictures and video footage of the two crying on castmates, and I always wondered, were they there for each other? Was this part of their bonding experience? When they say that they used to be really good friends, I know that this took a huge toll on the girls and it seemed like the end of the world for them. So I always wondered if they bonded over that, if they bonded over the fact that something that they loved so much was indeed over. Imagine thinking these are the last days on earth as an entertainer when your dreams are right around the corner. I often think about this day for them and how it must have felt like it was the end of the world, but I always also thought that this is most likely part of the fire that grew inside of both these queens as they search for that next chapter to unfold. They got that feeling of being an artist, and that never leaves you. Once you get that spark, it becomes impossible to put out. And these girls worked in the entertainment industry for years with small jobs here and there, but nothing really big happened until 1998. In 1998, Britney signed to Jive Records, releasing Baby One More Time, which was a huge success as a shock to her and the entire world. The first single did so well on the charts, and that same year, Christina was signed to RCA. They were looking for their own version of Britney Spears. This was a very popular trend of the late 90s and early 2000s. Britney replicas of her voice, her dancing, and her style began to multiply. I, as a Britney fan, loved it. This is where you get your Jessica Simpson, Mandy Moore, Willa Ford, all icons in their own way. I have highly considered doing a video on the multiple realities of Britney Spears that dive into the timeline of the birth of all these icons, and if that's something you want to see, let me know in the comments below. RCA began to groom and control Christina's career from the very start, which is very understanding of how we get the stripped era later. You think at the time that an artist or a celebrity might just be wilding out with their music or trying to be sexy or trying to do this. But if you really look at the timeline and the manipulation of how they tried to make her a replica of Britney Spears, it was only by the stripped era that Christina was actually able to break out and be her real self with the music that she wanted to do. It was never that she was this way and Britney was another. This is truly who Christina was, but in the beginning, they were making her to be a replica of Britney Spears, never really giving her the chance to be her true self with her own lyrics and her own ideas until later when she got to break free. You can truly see here that this is the formation of a tight leash that she would definitely inevitably end up breaking. Everyone wanted their own Britney, the image of a nice girl who was secretly a little bit provocative. Her look, her sound, and her voice were all controlled and meant to replicate Britney Spears. In 1999, Britney drops her full album Baby One More Time in January, which did absolutely amazing. Her best-selling album of all time. And then later in August of that year, we got Christina's first album, which was self-titled Christina Aguilera. The albums were similar, but as much as they tried to replicate Britney, they quickly realized Christina's voice was something truly special. So the album did end up taking more of an R&B turn to show off her vocals. Christina was doing really well in the music scene, but never as well as Britney, and there were several reasons why. Britney was that quirky Midwestern girl, while Christina was shaping up to be more of a bad girl. Despite the obvious differences between these girls, the public would not stop pitting them against each other. Remember, this is the time without social media, so all we knew about the girls is what was posted in the media and the tabloids. There was little to no opportunity to really get to know who they were until time began to unravel. Every time Christina was interviewed, she was asked about Britney. You can see that in the beginning, she answers all the interview questions about Britney really nice and even sometimes refer to her as a bestie or a best friend. And then as the years progress, the questions become a little bit more irritating to her and she gets more and more of an attitude with her answers. This has always made me question how tight they really were behind closed doors. I always wondered if maybe just possibly because Britney was out before Christina, it was most likely great when they would ask about Britney in interviews. Seeing as how her single and album weren't out yet when she was still doing press, it must have meant really good that she was still getting a name for herself, even just through Britney. So in her mind, when she was that young, in the beginning way she answered the interviews, it might have been easier for her to say she was best friends with someone who was known as such a good girl in the spotlight and such a legendary star. But I think that quickly got old when she started to become her own artist and wanted to be more represented for her music rather than this rivalry in the media. A moment in history that started to separate the two girls was around the 42nd Grammys. Both Britney and Christina were up for Best New Artist, and the award went to Christina, despite Britney's music sales being far superior. Also, at the time, Christina did not have her album out yet, so the Grammys truly saw something in her to give her this award. This is definitely, without a doubt, one of my favorite Christina Aguilera moments of her career. She just looked so shocked and excited to be winning this award, and definitely just so well deserved, as it would have been if Britney won. But when she looks at the camera, she mouths mommy, and it's just the cutest thing anyone can relate to who works hard to make their family proud. It was so beautiful to see that she did that in that moment, and I can only imagine her and her mother, all the talks they probably had about winning a Grammy and winning these awards when she was younger, as she's had this voice her whole life. So she's been destined for this lifestyle that she's building at this very moment. So for that to just come into existence made me feel really proud of her in that moment. Around this time, Britney was super busy on tour with NSYNC between June 1998 and January 2000. This is when the rumors of Britney and Justin began. Eventually, they went official and the iconic Britney and Justin era started. Some fans speculate that Justin was using Britney to further his career, and after multiple encounters with my own boys, I would say the statement could be actual truth. I don't know Justin Timberlake personally, and I do enjoy his solo music as well as all of NSYNC's music from that era very, very much. But when I think about his body language and just his face sometimes in the pictures of him and Britney, and not to mention his appearances at this time it was highly entertaining for people to be involved in both of the stars' personal life. And while Britney was very endearing and quiet during interviews about personal questions, I strictly remember Justin going around doing SNL, doing many appearances where it became, a bit of brag for him, a brag that he was with the Britney Spears. And I always wondered, maybe it was just him being young, dumb, and stupid, or was this a part of his personality? Was he someone who actually wanted to just be with her, to use her to get to the next chapter of his career? Or did he have real feelings? And if he did, why would he go out and say those things in public, making her kind of just look stupid? As their careers begin to grow and flourish in the year 2000, the media does not stop asking Christina about Britney in every interview. This year, their feud becomes somewhat of a pop culture phenomenon, and I definitely became heavily intrigued by this. You can see as the years progress of Christina's interviews that she has grown to be more and more irritated at the Britney questions. She truly began to build a life of her own with her own special sound, and she was still being compared to someone who in many people's eyes did half the work. See, despite the growing popularity of Britney Spears, she was also the butt of many people's lip sync jokes, and I clearly remember spending a lot of my childhood defending her. I would imagine that as Christina, it hurt to be compared to someone who allegedly was only doing half the work. Let me also say that this is just me speculating what Christina may have felt. Remember, no one knows but her and Britney, and I always see Britney as an all-around amazing performer. I do think a live singing artist should be praised when the voice is exceptional, but let us not forget the strength and confidence it takes to give a good lip sync number. I should know I'm a drag queen recording artist, morphed and inspired by these icons. Definitely check out some of my music on Spotify and iTunes under Jasmine Anastasia. Some people even say that the power of Christina's voice explodes through Britney's sexuality and dancing. Well, that's not some people, that's basically just me. I've watched and rewatched countless Britney and Christina tours in person and through extensive studies, and it's evident that Britney Spears has a stronger stage presence than Christina Aguilera. Obviously, in the realm of who has the better voice, Christina wins. But in this era of music, you need to be an all-around pop star. I will say that the levels of hierarchy for both girls have changed. Britney has developed to be more of a tighter dancer, not as much as in the zone as she used to be, while Christina has been back on stage singing and dancing, leveling up her craft in many ways, and I believe in these days she's making up for lost time. In the year 2000, Britney releases her second album, Oops, I Did It Again, and Christina releases her first full Spanish album. After this album, she fired her current manager and began to rebrand with RCA. This is when she released Lady Marmalade, which definitely was a huge turn in her career and persona, one that made me truly fall in love with Christina Aguilera. I'd like to think that in the beginning of Christina's birth, I only liked her because of the way they replicated her as Britney. But when I finally fell in love with Christina for who she was, it was during the stripped era slash Lady Marmalade era slash yes, kill it girl. It was everything I ever needed in life and I was here for it. In 2001, Britney became the queen of Pepsi while Christina got signed with Coca-Cola. And then Britney Spears released her third album, self-titled Britney, which included hits like Slave for You. And of course, that brings us to the epic VMA performance with The Big Snake. Britney at this time was still keeping up the persona of someone who was still waiting for marriage, which created a media frenzy because here you have this pop icon dancing sultry on stage with a big snake, but then she became this quiet girl off stage when it came to personal questions, and people could not get enough of her. In 2002, Britney released Crossroads, which didn't do well, but if you're a Britney fan, you know. We love this movie. At the time, it was so iconic to see our beloved Britney Spears in the leading role on the big screen. Oh, what a beautiful time that was. Shortly after, Christina came out hitting hard with her first single, Dirty, from her second album, Stripped. This video, the lyrics, and the look solidified Christina as the bad girl of pop music. After learning so much about the journey of these two girls, this fate seems so inevitable for Christina. I both love and understand exactly how she got to this moment. From this album, we get Beautiful, which became an anthem for LGBT people. The music video showed drag queens and same-sex couples at a time where this was not shown a lot. I remember the feeling of my idol calling me beautiful through the speakers and my life changing forever. I was around 12 years old at the time and I began my own coming out journey. I never thought of it until the production of this video, but that power of that song is the moment that made me feel like the time was right. This is when I slowly began to appreciate the correlation of pop culture and music and the inspiration it can give to the soul, which is something that is clearly shown in all the music reactions on my channel today. People always see that I'm very empathic towards music and I let it inspire me and heal me and wrap around me, and that's what I believe that music should do for you. You shouldn't just put it on in the background. It should be a part of your life and you should let it change you because it really does have the ability to do that, and almost all of the songs and moments of Britney and Christina, it did that exactly for me. In 2003, while Christina's career was on the uppity, Britney began one of the lowest moments in her career, which was the breakup with Justin Timberlake. He tried to imply via his music video Cry Me a River that Britney cheated on him with his choreographer, Wade Robinson, despite the rumors of him cheating first. Again, I believe only they know the truth. Now, this is where things get interesting. Wade Robinson was actually a choreographer for both NSYNC and Britney Spears, so he knew both Justin and Britney. So shame on you, Wade, if those rumors are true. Also, at the peak of the breakup, Christina and Justin were both releasing albums and decided to collaborate on a joint tour since both were releasing two of the biggest albums in pop history, Stripped and Justified. This tour began to speculate rumors of the two actually dating. Out of all the extensive research I did, this is what shocked me the most. I understand a beautiful business move in terms of a shared audience, but girl, that's a little shady. Not only is a somewhat friend of yours going through a public breakup with someone that you also publicly know, but now you're publicly sharing a tour with him. And although I understand that this could be a huge moneymaker and a great business decision, it doesn't seem like the actions of something you want to do of someone who used to be your best friend. As a fully grown adult, I do attribute this business decision to a mix of young adult shade, meaning something you would do as a young person because you simply don't know better, and a business decision. In that same year, Britney made plans to meet Justin at Joseph's Club, allegedly in LA, to confront him about their relationship issues. Allegedly, Britney walked into the VIP section to find Britney and Justin either all hugged up or kissing or just close. Various stories say different things, so it's hard to say what I believe. And again, no one knows what happened here at this club in the VIP section besides the people who were there. They both started spilling excuses apparently and denied this encounter, and Britney was just not having it. She immediately left Joseph and the Justified and Stripped tour moved along. This brings us to the 2003 VMAs that shook the world. Madonna kissed Britney and Christina, but the true MVPs were the faces of the audience during this performance. They could not take this iconic moment. This moment, in so many ways, encapsulates how one generation can influence another generation in such a beautiful way. There would be no Britney and Christina without Madonna, in the same way we would not have our Jessica and Mandys without Britney and Christina. Unfortunately, there was another VMAs award show later that year in Europe where Christina and Justin played somewhat of a crude joke on Britney, where Christina brought out a doll that looked exactly like Britney Spears and said something to Justin Timberlake along the lines of, "You left this on the tour bus." This is what seems like to be the turn of the girls acting fake to truly saying how they feel in the media. In the December issue of Blender magazine, Christina said, referring to the VMA rehearsals in 2003, that Britney seemed distant, even during rehearsals. Every time she tried to start a conversation with her, well, let's just say she seemed a little nervous the whole time. Christina says that she seems to be lost like a little girl, someone who desperately needed guidance. I find the lost girl comment such a low blow considering now we know what Britney was truly going through. Britney ended up replying on TRL in the classiest way, truly showing the difference between the two girls and where they stood now. Britney replied in her Blender magazine interview saying, "I'm not about the fake anymore," which finally shows Britney fighting back. In 2004, this brings us to the In the Zone era for Britney, which leads us into the Me Against the Music music video with Britney and Madonna. Although the world was shook by this amazing collaboration, they ended up getting an interview of Christina, and well, she didn't have much nice things to say about it. This year was a big one for Britney because this is the year where Britney meets Kevin. This relationship changed Britney's life for multiple reasons, but in an interview in US Weekly, Christina is asked about the relationship where she again decides to go in on Britney, saying, "I know Britney. She's not trailer trash, but she sure acts that way." Again, the interview comments are getting petty. And listen, I love Britney, but I understand Christina. She's tired of the questions and the comparison. And in her young mind, at this point, she's probably thinking, "You want to know what I really think? Here you go." And no, this is not the way she always thought about Britney, but this is where she stands now, and people need to be okay with that. Also, looking back at this era for Britney, this is where I found myself most embarrassed to be a fan. The way that she let loose with Kevin was not something I understood until I was older and fell in love myself. At the time, I also thought all the K-Fed era moments were cringy and showed my queen not in the best light. This interview comes across as shady, but if you zoom out and see the timeline from afar, Christina is speaking the truth. When Chaotic and all that Britney and Kevin content was coming out, I did not watch it. It wasn't until later that I really appreciated every single clip of Britney Spears. At that time, I was embarrassed to be a fan. I felt like she was throwing her career away for someone who was definitely not seen in the same light as her. I didn't really truly understand why she would want to give up everything she had in her life to start a family with someone who just didn't seem like an equal to her. Of course, the media blew up all these responses the girls were giving to each other via the Blender magazine interview articles. Because of this, I'm guessing Christina started to feel a little guilt. She ended up writing Britney a letter, and Britney did not respond right away. Later in 2005, Britney finally has her own website, and we're now at a place where celebrities can begin to share who they are on the internet. In a 2005 blog post, Britney writes about how she would love to be close with Christina and says that she looks happy and beautiful. At this point, the girls are now becoming women and starting families. Christina was just getting married and Britney was already married expecting her first child. They were finally growing up and seeing past the petty past that media had created between the two. In 2006, Britney becomes pregnant with her second son while Christina begins working on her Back to Basics album. While Christina took it easy and focused on music, Britney began to get into one of the toughest years of her life. 2 months after the birth of her second son, she divorced Kevin and the media frenzy we all know and remember began. I have a full series on these years called The Impossible Life of Britney Spears on my channel that really thoroughly documents how all that happened. Having the second child, going to extreme postpartum depression, and then the media frenzy that filmed it all. That video series is now streaming on my channel also, and it really does just go to show you how different the world was back then. So many people collectively came together to make fun of someone going through postpartum and mental issues and got their picture taken at and blown up and laughed at. That would never happen in today's world with the magnifying glass that we have on mental health. And the way we acted back then, we should all be ashamed of. And I talk about this in that series, so make sure you guys check that out. There was a lot of drama in Britney's life, but when it came to Christina, things seemed to be getting better. Later that year, they exchanged gifts for each other's weddings and baby deliveries, and then it brings us to 2007. The blackout era was one to remember. This is the year of the head shaving. Britney versus the world. The year that changed everything is definitely more detailed, like I said, in the Impossible Life of Britney Spears series that I have on my channel, where I talk about that mental health journey for Britney and how things happen at that time for her would never happen in today's world. In January of 2008, Christina gives birth to her first child, and in February, based off of the year Britney had before, Britney is then placed into a conservatorship, and all her rights are taken away from her and given to her father. We all know about this today, but at the time we didn't. A full series that covers this in detail would be Deep Dive. So make sure you guys check out those videos because they go through an extensive timeline of everything that happened, of how she got placed in a conservatorship, why, and everything that happened during those years. But it breaks my heart to know that Britney felt so trapped and so alone during these years. As the girls get older and in interviews that are to come, Christina begins to say things like she's grateful for the experience that she had with Britney and that she'll always be there for Britney. She also says that during 2007, one of Britney's toughest years, she wrote her a letter. But knowing what we know today about Britney's conservatorship, how true could this be? Would Britney even get the letters if she was being sent to her? Were they being reviewed by her father before she got them? At the end of the day, I'd love to know how much of this feud is true. The media created a firestorm and may be guilty for creating a rivalry when there wasn't one. Even though music sales, competition, and life happen, I think these girls truly do love each other. And personally, I'm still waiting for that duet pop song explosion that we all need and deserve. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments if you want to see them collaborate and come together. Obviously, things were said and there was youthful beef, but what do you think? Do you think the media took this out of hand and ran with it? We all know that they're so hungry to destroy any celebrity. So who knows what in the media was true or not? But then also, it is extremely natural for humans to both get competitive and jealous. I always thought, what if the feud itself was the fire that gave us all the hits we have today? What if the reason why they went so hard to give us those albums and dance that hard and sing that amazing was because they truly felt like in the back of their mind there was that competition and they had to one up each other? If they didn't have each other as an inspiration to one up each other, would everything have been as amazing as it was? I always wonder that. Overall, if the girls were starting their career today, we would truly be measuring off of the impact. We as a society have come so far in terms of what we deem beautiful or impactful. I mean, how many people came out because of beautiful? How many people began to question their own sexuality because of Slave for You? These are the numbers that matter, and both icons have done the work to leave a major mark on this earth. There should be no competition or rivalry, just impactful women. Do you know how many artists were unclogged while dancing to Britney, or tears were shed while relating to Christina's personal stories? The music is what matters. We know now to not get caught up in such slander. How we feel when we connect to the artist is all that matters. Something like a juicy rivalry such as this may have been the very spark that gave us those hits we love today. So it should be honored. It should be cherished. Sometimes we need a little push to show ourselves who we are, who is our best selves. And I deeply believe that they were each other's push. Just a huge thank you to everyone who listened or watched this entire production. It means so much to me. Please make sure you guys slap that like button and subscribe because it really helps support the channel. And make sure you hit that notification bell because if you want to see more videos like this, one, let me know in the comments which topics or eras or stars or moments that you want me to talk about. And I would love to add that to the channel. Don't forget, there are audio versions of so many of my YouTube videos on my podcast, Nigel, a personal podcast, which is on all streaming platforms as well as Spotify. And also on Spotify is all of my drag music under Jasmine Anastasia, where you can find all of my own pop hits that were obviously inspired by Britney and Christina, as well as an abundance of other amazing stars. I always feel so grateful to be living at a time where I have the ability to create my own music out of everything that I've been inspired by from my life. So it feels like a full circle moment to be promoting my music while I'm also paying tribute to two of the women who helped me realize I was capable of making music. So it's a beautiful journey. Thank you everyone for being here, and I will see you guys in the next video. Mwah.